Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folani. It's a holiday, birthday of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It is, an off-school. Well, it's a public holiday in Nigeria too. But that's not what we're going to be talking about today. Our guest is Honorable Bamidele Salam. He's Chairman, House Committee on Public Accounts. And as most people know, when I say House Committee, that means the committee in the House of Representatives. Honorable Bamidele Salam, a fine morning to you, sir.
Thank you. Good morning, and good morning to all our viewers all over the world.
Okay. So what do public accounts committees do? What do they do? Public Accounts Committee. For instance, you are the chairman of one. So what exactly, how is it different from the Committee on Finance and all those other ones that are that concern money?
All right. The Public Account Committee is a committee that is created by the Nigerian Constitution as the Committee of Parliament that considers the report of the Auditor General for the Federation. It is, by the way, the only committee so mentioned in the Nigerian Constitution, apart from the Joint Committee on Finance that is also mentioned. The only committee that is specifically mentioned in the Constitution is the Public Account Committee. And like I said, it's a committee of the House that considers the report of the Auditor General for the Federation, essentially tracking public spending and ensuring adherence to financial laws, regulations, best practices in public expenditure, and ensuring that the monies appropriated by Parliament are judiciously utilized by ministries, departments, agencies, and organs of the federal government. So as you have the Public Account Committee in the National Assembly, you also have at various houses of assembly carrying out essentially the same function of ensuring that public funds are spent for public good and that audit reports are considered timeously so that we can see where we need to fill in the gaps, what corrections we need to do in subsequent appropriations, and what other amendments or tinkering we need to do with our laws regarding accountability, transparency, and judicious use of public funds. So that's essentially what the Public Account Committee does. So we have it in the Senate and we have it in the House of Reps, and I'm privileged to be chairman of that committee in the 10th House of Representatives.
Has it done us any good? I ask this question as, if you want, somebody who is, totally ignorant of these matters. Has it done us any good? Because it seems to me that what you're saying is that it's like an oversight committee. They actually will, they will inspect, they will, just generally be on the ball. And I think the whole long and short of it is to cut down on, nefarious practices, corruption, and all that kind of thing. It's in that sense that I ask the question, have they done us any good?
Well, absolutely, yes. Number one, having the Parliament as an institution itself is an expression of the democratic aspiration of every nation. The Parliament is that body that represents the interests of the people and projects the aspiration of the people in every democracy. So each committee of the House or each committee of the Parliament is meant to be an expression of what the public looks forward to. So when we bring that down to the Public Account Committee, I can tell you without any iota of doubt that having the Public Account Committee in the House of Representatives, especially in this 10th Assembly, has done us a lot of good. Okay. Because by the activities, the oversight activities of this committee, we have had a lot of interventions, by other agencies of government in a manner, that helps us, one, in recovery of funds, and two, in also putting in place measures to prevent wastages in public expenditure, to also prevent, corrupt practices. One clear example, which you must have read in the news also, is the various recoveries that this 10th Assembly of the House of Representatives Public Account Committee has, by its activities, initiated in different areas. We had an investigation on revenue leakages through the remitter platform. where we made quite substantial recoveries. We also had recoveries from the oil and gas sector, from oil and gas concerns that were defaulting in various statutory payments by 2021. And as a result of the intervention of the Public Account Committee of the House of Representatives, we recovered about 200 billion naira for the federal government. We also had, investigation into the COVID-19 expenditure, which also resulted in significant policy change in the way that we structure our accounting system, as well as recoveries also from one or two organizations that got the COVID-19 fund and did not utilize them, or just got the money and diverted them. So having this committee in the House, because yes, every other committee of the House does oversight function, but for the Public Account Committee, our oversight is over all ministries, departments, and agencies of government, including even the National Assembly. Every entity that takes government money must account for such monies through the Auditor General for the Federation and through the Public Account Committee. So having this committee has actually been a lot of safeguard, as well as recovery net for the federal government of Nigeria, and serving again also as a watchdog, because where you do not have a body like this, tracking public funds, there is a great likelihood that there will be much more impunity, much more violation of our laws and regulations, and much more corrupt practices in public expenditure. So certainly, having this committee has done a lot of good to us, and we are hoping that we are not going to rest on our oars. We still have a lot of ground to cover, no doubt, to make sure that the very purpose or the intent of the drafters of our Constitution is realized through the Public Account Committee of the House of Representatives.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that. Why the Public Accounts Committee is coming up for mention now, of course, apart from the very important work that you've been doing, as you have so kindly, simplified it and explained it, why it has come up is that there's a West African Association of Public Account Committees conference coming up that will be hosted by the House of Representatives. And so just taking what you told us now as the primary concern of public account committees anywhere, that sort of gives us something of an understanding as to when this body, the West African Association of Public Accounts Committees, when it came into being in 2009, as I read up on it, and I saw that the legislators of legislatures, I beg your pardon, the legislatures of Cameroon, Gambia, Ghana, Nigeria, Liberia, and Sierra Leone were actually represented at this special seminar that had been sponsored or organized by the World Bank Institute. So one understands that. Now, you said earlier that people are coming in from other countries too. It's not just us. So I just wanted to ask now, everything you said in relation to our Public Accounts Committee, which is actually in our Constitution, there are other countries as well, whether it is in their Constitution or not, they are doing precisely the same thing. Now, where is the synergy for you to come together? I was just curious, and I said, when I see you this morning, I'll ask, say, the originating members, Gambia, Ghana, Nigeria, Liberia, and Sierra Leone, where is the commonality between them? Or why was it felt a good thing and necessary to form a group of, West African parliaments, public affairs committees? How would that further the cause, the noble cause that you have just described?
All right, thank you. Now, let me establish this. The Public Account Committee is one of the very few committees that exist in virtually every parliament around the world. Apart from the Committee on Appropriation, which is the Committee on Budget, which comes under different names depending on the parliaments. In some parliaments, it's called the Committee on Budget. In some, on Appropriation. In some committees, the work of the appropriation is also done by the Committee on Finance. Apart from this committee, the Public Account Committee is perhaps the only other committee that exists in virtually every parliament world over, from the United States to Canada to United Kingdom to India to Pakistan to South Africa, everywhere. The parliament has a public account committee which essentially operates in very similar manner. One of the features of the public account committee, I must also say, is that traditionally it's a committee that is often chaired by a member of an opposition political party or a party that is a minority in parliament, so as to guarantee some measure of independence and some measure of checks and balances in our public expenditure. And that is the same pattern that Nigeria and most of these other countries have adopted. Now, the Public Account Committee exists at different levels. We have the Commonwealth Association of Public Account Committee, CAPAC, the Commonwealth Association of Public Account Committee, which is the public account committees of all members in the Commonwealth region. We have the AfroPAC, which is the African Organization of Public Account Committee, which has its international headquarters in Nairobi, Kenya. And then we have the West African National Public Account Committee, which is ours, with the secretariat in Accra, Ghana. We have the SADOPAC, which is the Southern Africa Public Account Committee, and so on and so forth. Now, the West African version of the Public Account Committee, like you rightly said, was founded in 2009 after a conference that was sponsored by the World Bank, where
the World Bank
about
Institute.
5 or 6 West African countries participated.
That's right.
And the whole essence of it is also to ensure that as it obtains in other regions and continents, we have a body where public account committee in West African states can come together to share experience, to have peer review mechanism, and also to develop a framework where we can have, an operational system that is very similar. Because, like you said, the ECOWAS is the body that brings us all together, and we're trying to transit into having a single community. The West African countries under ECOWAS have over the years also touted the idea of having a common currency, common economy, seamless borders, and integrating the community into one body. So as a result of this, you will discover that we have so many things in common. And so in 2009, the founding fathers of the WAPAC decided that there was a need to have a body that will bring together the public account committees of parliament in all the West African countries under a single umbrella, and that is how WAPAC came to be. Now,
it's an annual.
WAPAC,
is it an
Nigeria
annual?
Was very, very active.
Is it an annual?
Unfortunately, over the years,
is it an annual event?
Nigeria waned. For some reasons, the Public Account Committee of the Nigerian Parliament was no longer actively involved in the WAPAC activities, very unfortunately, because that led to a lot of loss in terms of the leadership which Nigeria should provide to our sister countries. But when we came on board in 2023, the Right Honorable Speaker of the House of Representatives, the Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, directed that we should reintegrate Nigeria into the West African Public Account Committee.
Okay. An
initiative that we took up and re-registered Nigeria and attended the conferences of the WAPAC in Benin Republic and the one following in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire. It was at the meeting in Côte d'Ivoire that the whole body decided that Nigeria should be granted the hosting right of the 2025 annual conference and General Assembly of the West African Public Account Committee, WAPAC, which is what we are hosting beginning from Sunday to Friday, effectively 8th to 12th, Monday to Friday of the coming week here in Abuja. So it is the first time that Nigeria is playing a leading role, in WAPAC since its formation, and we do look forward to a very successful conference. We have at the moment almost 100 international delegates that have registered to participate. We have local participants.
From how many countries?
Public Account Committee of State Assemblies.
From how many?
Of the Public Account Committee.
From how many West African countries?
We have the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, Auditor General for the Federation, the NFIU, and the Debt Management Office, and a few other critical stakeholders that will be joining us in this very important conference holding in Abuja, where we'll be discussing strengthening parliamentary oversight of public debt. That is the focus of the conference for this year, to make the parliament more energized, more able to oversight public debt in all our various states and countries in West Africa. So that is the idea behind the WAPAC and how Nigeria came to be the host of the 11th annual conference and the General Assembly of the West African Association of Public Accounts Committee, which the Nigerian House of Representatives Public Accounts Committee, under my chairmanship, will be hosting from Monday to Friday of this week.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Next week, sorry, please.
Yes. Actually, okay, you actually managed to answer some of the questions I was trying to ask.
Sorry, I can't hear you again, please.
Because I was trying to interject. But there was it was of no effect. So it's clear that you couldn't hear me. But along the line, you actually had provided answers to the question I was trying to ask, whether it was an annual or a biannual event. You said it's an annual, and this is the 11th. You've also told us that actually Nigeria was granted the rights to host this, and, well, granted us the rights, the privilege, the honor, because it is going to be costing, you know, a pretty penny, as these things often do when you have parliamentarians gather. But then again, all these things are budgeted for. So, once more, tell me the theme, because you mentioned it just now, that, you know, everybody was speaking on.
Yeah, like I said, you know, we're. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. You just mentioned the theme.
Okay,
to me.
Absolutely.
Yes. So, you know, can you just say that again? What the theme of this 11th annual conference is?
Okay, the theme of the conference is strengthening parliamentary oversight of public debts. Strengthening parliamentary oversight of public debt. You agree with me that the issue of debt, though a global issue, has more intensity when it comes to African countries, because you know, there are a lot of issues around the debt portfolio of most African countries, and these are things that also impact substantially on the budget and the implementation of the various expenditure framework. In Nigeria, we have what we call the MTEF, the medium-term expenditure framework. In other countries, they have the framework. Some have them as development plans. So the debt portfolio of each of these countries have very major impact on the implementation of their you know, economic agenda and the framework for execution of budget. So the parliament, as the body that is responsible for appropriating monies, approving borrowing, must also be empowered, must have the capacity to actually oversight this debt, so that you don't lead the various countries to a situation where you borrow this money and before you know it, we do not have any result, a positive result, as a result of the huge borrowing that we do in most of the African countries. So we are focusing on how the parliament can build its capacity to track expenditure of monies that are borrowed. Most of the African countries today, Nigeria inclusive, fund our budget mostly from, you know, internal external borrowing. In a situation where you have more than 40% of the budget in deficit, and you have to you have to augment whatever you are making as a revenue with debt, it behoves on us as members of parliament to be able to develop our capacity to be able to track how these budgets, one, are obtained, what are the conditionalities, how sustainable are the debt, and for what purposes are the monies borrowed going to be spent, and then, you know, ensuring that at the end of the day, we are also able to report back to the Nigerian people or the public of each of these countries on how the debts incurred by their countries have impacted on education, on health, on infrastructure, and on other aspects of of the national life. So what we are discussing for this year is how to strengthen parliamentary oversight of public debt in the West African sub-region.
Yeah, thank you. What have been the challenges in that regard? I ask this against the background of the fact that these committees, these public accounts committees, they are autonomous, at least. They are autonomous. That means they work very much by their own rules. And you were saying earlier how it's either somebody in opposition or somebody from the minority who usually heads up those kind of bodies elsewhere. All of this is all about checks and balances. Now, the autonomy of the Public Accounts Committee, has that been working well?
I didn't hear how you landed. You spoke about the autonomy.
Yes. Has it been working?
How autonomous?
Yes. Has it been working well as a concept? The fact that you are autonomous.
That's a very interesting question. Now, like I said, by parliamentary practice, and it's a global practice, the public account committees are headed by members of the opposition or let's call them minority political party everywhere, almost everywhere in the world. And the intent is that when this happens, we are able to maintain some degree of checks and balances with the executive, which is headed by a majority party or a ruling party. In fact, it will interest you to note that in some countries, even the majority of the members of the Public Account Committee must be from the opposition. Okay. I remember when we had an oversight to Rwanda and Republic of Kenya, when we had not an oversight, a learning tour of their parliament. Okay. The chairman and the deputy chairman of these committees are members of the opposition, and 60% of the membership must be from the opposition. Now, in Nigeria, we also have adopted the practice of having a member of the minority political party chairman the Public Account Committee. Of course, the deputy chairman comes from a member of the majority or the ruling political party, and then the composition of the members is made up of both people from the minority political party and the majority political party. But the interesting thing I must say is that the oath of office that we all took whenever we are sworn in as members of parliament is such that regardless of what political party you are, the best interest of the public must be the driving force in whatever you do. You must do all things without ill will, without favor, without any other motivation apart from public good. Now, in the House of Representatives, I must also give this as a credit to the leadership of the House of Representatives under the Right Honorable Dr. Tajuddin Abbas, that this 10th Assembly has given complete autonomy, complete independence, without any form of interference in the work that we do as members of the Public Account Committee. And I will give you one of the interesting results that we have had. Okay. Since 1999, when Nigeria returned back to democracy, hardly will you see any of the parliament considering the report of the Public Account Committee in plenary and passing such report as a resolution of the House. It happened for the very first time in the month of August 2025 under the speakership of Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas and the chairman of the Committee of the Whole, Dr. Benjamin Kalu, where the report of the Public Account Committee of the House of Representatives indicting 31 ministries, departments, and agencies for various infractions against our financial laws and regulations was considered by the House in plenary and passed as a resolution of the House. It never happened before now. Now, this will show you that, the present House of Reps and the present Public Account Committee is actually walking the talk. It's not about just saying we have a committee that is doing an oversight and the Auditor General does his work for almost 1 or 2 years, submit report to the Public Account Committee, we do our work, and then it ends up in one dustbin somewhere. That has gone for good. Now we have a parliament that considers the report of the Public Account Committee and passes resolution on them and sends out those resolutions to appropriate organs of government for implementation. The EFCC, the ICPC, and other organs of government were written after this constitutional report by the House so that they can then take up all those issues to see where they can activate their prosecutorial powers to bring people to justice for various infractions that they have committed while in office. So, talking about the independence of this committee, I want to assure you that under the leadership of Dr. Tajuddin Abbas in the 10th Assembly, we have enjoyed absolute autonomy without any form of interference in the discharge of our constitutional duties, and that has resulted in the remarkable result that, by the grace of God, we have had in the last 2 years of my own stewardship in the Public Account Committee.
Well, excellent. But we haven't heard of, we often complain that, look, we start things and we often don't know where these things end. Things just go quiet. For instance, the laudable role, which is you are doing oversight, and wherever you notice that things are not quite the way they should be, they will be addressed forthrightly. And I can now see the wisdom in having either opposition or from somebody from a minority party member heading up the committee, even though you've explained that there also are people from maybe the majority party as well. So I was just wondering if there are any examples of people, actioning some critical reports that might have been made, and we followed that to a logical conclusion. Otherwise, they will say it is talk shops, that in Nigeria, we are so expert at talk shops, and when it comes to actual results of the work that you and the other honorable gentlemen would have done, for it to see the light of day, that often is a problem. But you have praised the Honorable Speaker Tajuddin Abbas as, he's running a different kind of a ship, and things that didn't used to happen before are now happening. Does that include getting joy when it comes to whatever agency of government that you pass a complaint to, for example, they have actually actioned it, and societal debts have been paid?
All right. Let me first say something. You see, by the operation of the Nigerian Constitution, there are delineated powers and responsibilities. And Nigerians must understand this. As a parliament, unlike some other parliaments, I'll give an example. I was in the I was in Zanzibar in Tanzania recently, and I had a meeting with the Auditor General for that country, Auditor General of Zanzibar, Dr. Uthman. We had a meeting, and he told me that by the Constitution and the rules of proceeding of the Public Account Committee in Zanzibar, that committee itself has the prosecutorial power to charge people to court as a committee and get them convicted for infractions. Now, the Nigerian parliament does not have that power. The Nigerian parliament has the power to order arrest of someone who, maybe has gone contempt of parliament or has refused to obey summons, but that is where it ends.
That is.
After investigations into any matter and infractions are established against such a person, it is the executive arm of government that takes up that responsibility after then. And like I told you, the report on the COVID-19 investigation was conducted almost 1 year ago. And the report of that committee was sent to the executive arm of government for implementation. Now, what the executive does with this is almost absolutely out of the control of the parliament. But we do hope that sometime, maybe they're trying to take their time to do some diligent investigation or whatever it is. But we do hope that sometime we will at least have 1, 2, 3, or 4 persons who will be made to face the wrath of the law, to face the music, as a result of the work that an oversight committee of parliament, especially the Public Account Committee, does. In some other jurisdiction also, it may interest you to note that there's something they call the Public Account Tribunal. The Public Account Tribunal, especially in most countries in Southern Africa, is where the recommendation of the Public Account Committee is sent for implementation. In this manner, you have very little interference of the executive in what happens after that. Because somebody jokingly said recently, said, oh, you people are reporting the executive to the executive. And I mean, what do you expect? But we do hope that nobody in the executive will have this kind of a mindset, oh, these are part of us or whatever it is. But I must also add this, very, very important, that apart from, what we do after the fact, one other thing that we do in the Public Account Committee is that of deterrence, to ensure, or prevention rather, to ensure that this, brazen violation of our laws and regulations do not even happen in the first instance. And that is the power of the status inquiry, that we activate in most cases, even though we have instances where lack of cooperation by ministries and agencies of government have led to, stalling some of these investigations. A very clear example, in our meeting a few days ago, we spoke about some of the agencies of government that have been invited either to answer audit query or to respond to various forms of investigations, refusing to honor those invitations.
They don't come.
You mentioned the Presidential Amnesty Program, where the coordinator of the Presidential Amnesty Program has been invited 5 times to answer audit query, and all we have got are letters asking for extension of time, asking for more time. We have the same thing in the midstream and downstream agency, where we wrote for information on some of the expenditure, and we have had to write, reminders almost 2-3 times without responses coming. We have incidents with the University of Ibadan, University of Lagos, invited for audit queries and status inquiries. You have not had responses. So many examples like that.
Exactly.
Where
I'll tell you what,
refuse to cooperate with Parliament in the exercise of these powers.
Well,
and by the time you exercise the powers that the Parliament has, all you see is all manner of uproar and what have you. But even while we're trying to do this work to ensure that everybody is, first in line in terms of the laws we have all agreed, that should govern our public expenditure and what have you, you have quite a number of ministries and agencies that have, over the years, just deliberately refused to be accountable, refused to submit themselves to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Honorable Salam. So I beg your pardon for interrupting.
In fact, we have decided now that after 1, 2, or 3 invitations to any agency of government, and they refuse to send in their responses or make an appearance, we'll go ahead and conclude and rule against them on the issues brought before us by the Treasurer for the Federation or through any other investigation that we have conducted, rather than waiting all over for 1 year, 2 years, when some of the principal actors
would have left
in the expenditure might have retired. Some might have even gone to the world beyond. Some might have changed their offices.
Could you give us an insight into how the work is going to be done? That is, it's 3 main days, right? 3 main days. What will be happening on those days?
All right, thank you very much. Now, beginning from today, we have arrival of delegates. In fact, the Executive Secretary of the West African National Public Account Committee, WAPAC, is, as we speak, he must be inbound to Nigeria and other delegates. But Monday is the opening ceremony of the annual conference, to be declared open by the Right Honorable Speaker of the House of Reps, Dr. Tajuddin Abbas, will declare the conference open at 10 a.m. at the National Assembly. That is the old chamber of the House of Representatives. We also have the Honorable Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, deliver the keynote address at this opening ceremony. The opening ceremony, of course, will be attended by members of the National Assembly, delegates from the NFIU, the EFCC, the ICPC, Auditor General's Office, Accountant General's Office, Debt Management Office, and so many other related agencies will be attending the opening ceremony on Monday at 10 a.m. And then immediately after the opening ceremony, we'll go into the plenary sessions. We have quite a number of topics outlined for the plenary sessions, and we have invited subject matter experts on finance, on accounting, on debt, on auditing, who will be participating in different plenary sessions, people from the academics, from the civil society, from the media, from the government, from the parliament, and members of the parliament from AfroPAC, African Organization of Public Account Committee, will be coming around from Kenya. People from the SADOPAC, the South African Public Account Committee, will be participating, also from Southern Africa. And of course, members of the WAPAC themselves from West African countries have all been divided into different of the panel sessions, apart from the civil society representatives who will be coming around to also participate. So that will happen on Monday. On Tuesday, we'll continue with the plenary sessions discussing issues of the African debt burden, the terms of most of the debt that we take, the identified gaps in the process of securing debt, the identified gaps in the process of oversighting debts, and how debts in Africa should be restructured or ameliorated in the long run with the collaboration of all major stakeholders. That will also happen on Tuesday. Then Wednesday is for the General Assembly. The General Assembly of the WAPAC is where issues concerning the health, the finances, and every other matter of the organization is discussed by members of the organization. That's strictly for members of the WAPAC, that's members of the parliament who are members of the Public Account Committee from these West African countries, will be participating on Wednesday in the General Assembly, which will culminate either in the renewal of the tenure of the executive or the election of new members of the executive. And then, in the evening of that Wednesday, we're going to be having a banquet at the banquet hall of the presidential villa to host the delegates to a state banquet where so many other dignitaries have been invited so that we can give our guests a taste of the Nigerian hospitality. And then we'll have an excursion for them on Thursday to see a little bit of the city before they go back to their various countries. And then Friday is the departure date for delegates to return back to their countries, and for those who are from Nigeria to also return back to their various states. So that, in essence, is the chain, is the flow of activities for the 11th conference of the West African Association of Public Account Committees holding here in Abuja, Nigeria.
Okay. And when I was just looking at your website page, WAPAC, I learned, is striving to stand out as an organization that empowers its members to effectively carry out their functions as the key oversight committee of Parliament over public sector finances, as well as promoting good governance. Now, few words, but a very wide scope, especially promoting good governance. Just before we went on break, you were explaining some of the challenges you have with, you know, associations or agencies of government that don't play cricket, so to speak. You invite them, they're supposed to come, make a presentation, and so you can get on with your work. But for whatever reason, people don't come. And unfortunately, there seem to be no consequences. I hope that that kind of a thing can actually be discussed, and maybe you'll be finding out if your other parliamentarian brothers and sisters, if this is what they also experienced in their country. Because you guys are coming together, hoping to sharpen your skills and heighten your effectiveness, no doubt. And that can't be if people, if agencies feel free to trifle with serious invitations that are sent to them. I wonder if that will also come up as an issue for serious consideration.
Yes, absolutely, it will. But let me also give a little background to some of the challenges that we have as a public account committee in Nigeria, which is, you know, a little bit unfortunate. Some of the things are very unfortunate. Now, don't forget I said that the Auditor General's report is usually an annual report. Everywhere in the world is an annual report which the Auditor General for every country sends to Parliament for the consideration of the Public Account Committee. Now, it will be, unfortunately, it should interest us that in terms of timeliness of the report that we even consider, it is not something of pride when we go to attend conferences in other parts of the world regarding public account, and they give us updates on the report that they were considering. and it comes to the turn of Nigeria, and we tell them in 2025, we're still considering 2021 audit report. Now, this is unthinkable. In Nigeria, we just have a 2022 audit report submitted to Parliament last week by the Auditor General for the Federation's office. And this is 2025, when countries like Kenya, like Ghana, like Cameroon, and some other countries are already considering the 2024 audit report to look at how monies that were voted by the Parliament in 2024 was spent, and then identify, the gaps, identify the infractions, and put in place measures for deterrence, measures also for people to face consequences. In Nigeria, we are still considering 2021 report. We just got 2022 last week. We have not even started. We have not even opened it. Now, a lot of things are responsible for this, one of which is the absence of an audit law in Nigeria. Unlike some other countries, Nigeria does not have a specific legal framework for the Supreme Audit Institution. Unfortunately, in the last 3 assemblies, there's an audit bill that has come before the assembly, and at one point or the other, it gets killed. In the 10th assembly, in October of 2023, the House of Representatives passed the audit bill and sent it to the Senate for concurrence. We are still waiting on our respected colleagues from the Senate to concur to the audit bill so that Nigeria will be removed from this list of countries that have refused to do things right in the audit space globally. It doesn't glorify us as the biggest economy in Africa, as the largest population, as the biggest democracy, to be the only one that does not have a legal framework guarding our Supreme Audit Institution. It does not speak well of us. And we are hopeful that by the time we resume, from the recess, our respected colleagues from the Senate will consider the audit bill before them so that we can pass this audit bill and send it to the President for his assent, and then we cross that hurdle which we have failed to cross in the last 15 years of the audit bill being in the mill. Now, the expectation is that by the time we have an audit bill, an audit act, it will empower the Supreme Audit Institution, the Office of the Auditor General for the Federation, to carry out its responsibilities. If we strengthen this institution, believe me, we will spend less money on trying to recover stolen funds, because they will have prevented a lot of this, misappropriation of public funds from even happening ab initio. You will also have a situation where by the time the audit report comes to Parliament, we expeditiously consider them. It does not become like an academic exercise when you are considering 2021 report. Now, some of the people who were responsible for the alleged misapplication of funds have left service, even though that does not exculpate them from consequences. But some of them have even died. Some have relocated out of the country. Some have changed offices. A very funny thing happened in one of our sittings. I think that was even yesterday, where a particular ministry, I may not want to mention them so that I don't prejudice the investigation, came before the committee and told us that the relevant vouchers for an expenditure of over 1 billion naira, 1,098 million naira spent in 2021 could no longer be found because that ministry had been split into two after 2021, and so they could not trace all these records for submission to Parliament. Now, how do you deal with that kind of a matter?
Exactly.
Whereas if the matter had been treated expeditiously and timely, it will have been very difficult to even allow anybody to come before you to give this kind of an excuse. So what we are saying is that apart from the fact that there are heads of agencies, accounting officers of agencies and ministries and departments that have consciously or otherwise, in most cases consciously, frustrated the work of the committee, there is also the gap in terms of the timeliness of our report. If reports come on time, we are able to deal with them. People who are responsible for doing one thing or the other are able to call to account, and we're able to also submit our report so that the process of implementation, can happen. So these are some of the gaps that we need to close. And as to whether this also happens in some other parliament. Each parliament have their own peculiar problems. They have their own peculiar challenges. But let me tell you, the challenges that we have here, most of them don't have. If you invite anyone before the Public Account Committee in the Republic of South Africa, for example, I know, only once, and you refuse to come, they will activate the power of arrest. And before you know it, you're already before the court. In Ghana, if you are, the Auditor General alleges that you did not make payment vouchers available as at the time of audit. After 3 months, if you don't make it available, it is status bad. It is considered that that document was not available. Here in Nigeria, after 3-4 years, people will come before the Public Account Committee. The payment voucher and document that the auditor could not give the auditor 3 years ago, they will suddenly come up and say these are the documents.
You see now.
Now,
you see
how
now.
do you get? You
see ourselves.
Other parliaments already have systems in place to prevent most of these things from happening. And we need to also copy some of these best practices.
Indeed.
So that we can play our leadership role.
Right you are. That's why I said at the very top of the program that one just hopes that this will not be a talk shop. I notice your enthusiasm, but knowing us the way we are, according to reports over the decades, this is something that we have to do away with. Reverend Dominic has called in. Good morning to you, Reverend.
Good morning, Yori. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Let me answer some questions and worries of your guest. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you well.
Your guest in coach and his National Assembly is the problem he's complaining about. Let me give you an example, Yori.
Okay.
Sometimes a year ago, the NNPC told us they have...
Do make it brief. Make it brief, please, Reverend.
Okay, brief.
Yes.
NNPC told us they have a break for the refinery. We put our worries and know it is not true. It's the more you look, the less you see. The same NNPC went to National Assembly and some of them for oversight function in Port Harcourt. They came to tell us that Port Harcourt refinery is working. Today, how markets are? If the Port Harcourt refinery is working, it is the bribery in oversighting that's causing the problem. So if I'm going to give you money to oversight me, if you come again, I will not come. It is National Assembly and this thing is important to go around. So you are going to oversight me, I will pay your transport, I will pay your feeding, I will help you. Don't you know that
okay, Reverend, I must give him time to respond to this. It's a very, very important point that you raised, Reverend, and I think I should give him the 1 minute or so to respond very, very briefly as well. Do go ahead, sir, Honorable Bamidele Salam.
Well, the only thing I had was something about the Port Harcourt refinery not working. I didn't hear most of what he said.
Well, most of what he said,
please, just give me the summary.
Yeah, most of what he said was that, look, oftentimes assemblymen or women, maybe both, have been compromised, by that is what he said in so many words. And so why will they not feel free to not show up, upon invitation? Because, so I think he started from we ourselves are the very architects of our own problems, we as people. All right.
I respect his opinion, but I want to tell him that whatever he has seen happen to some other persons or committees or whatever is not enough for him to assume that all committees of the House can be compromised in the discharge of their responsibilities. Now, for our own committee, we have never had an oversight to the Port Harcourt refinery because there had not been a cause for it. And there are committees of the House that have specific mandate on some agencies, even though ours is like an omnibus oversight. But I don't know whether he has any specific example of a committee that went to. I've never been to any refinery.
Well, I think I'll take that as a
refinery because there are not been any cause for it.
I'll take that as a sort of a blanket rejection of that suggestion, Honorable. I'll take what you're saying as a blanket rejection of what Reverend Dominic is saying. And I'm saying this because we've run out of time. But please, qualify it if you want.
Can you allow me to just land on this thought?
Go ahead, sir.
The point I want him to note, and every Nigerian to note, is that if you have a specific case of a committee or a person that is not doing what they are supposed to do, we have to nip that within the context of what exactly happened, rather than making a generalization. I agree there are challenges with the parliament, I cannot pretend about it. There are challenges with the institution. Nigerians expect more from us, and we should rise up to do more.
Indeed.
But in the specific case of the work that we do, I want to assure you that we can't be compromised and we cannot be intimidated from doing that which we need to do. And that has been what has resulted.
Thank you very much, Honorable Balogun. We can't go any
over
further.
What had happened in the past.
Thank you very much, Honorable Balogun. I beg your pardon, Honorable Bamidele Salam, Chairman of the House Committee on Public Accounts. Thank you for coming along and explaining the challenges in the job, and it's an indispensable job to our polity here. I want to thank you very much, and I certainly wish you a successful deliberations at the 11th Annual West Africa Association of Public Accounts Committees. Thank you very much for coming on, sir. Okay, we're going to have to leave it there.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Our pleasure. But please join us on Monday for a fresh edition of the program. I am Yori Folari. You have a great weekend.